Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching Northwest Public Broadcasting's Vote 2026 coverage of the 4th Congressional District primary in Washington State. That 4th district has been long held by Dan Newhouse, but after announcing in December he would not seek re-election, that left a seat open for one of 11 candidates on the primary ballot. My name is Matt Lovelace. Today, we at Northwest Public Broadcasting, in collaboration with AARP of Washington State and the League of Women Voters of Benton and Franklin counties and the League of Women Voters of Yakima County, are helping you get to know some of these candidates. Some newcomers, some familiar challengers, and we have some questions for them. This is not a debate nor a forum. We have taken the opportunity to schedule time with the candidates one-on-one. We'd like our viewers and listeners to consider this a bit of a video voter's guide, where we've collaborated on a series of questions. Each candidate will get all of these same questions and the same opportunity to answer. We'll time the responses here in our NWPB studio on the WSU Tri-Cities campus. We thank you for watching. Now our coverage of this 4th District primary continues as we introduce Jacek Kobiesa, a Pasco resident, design engineer in the Tri-Cities. Not your first foray into a political campaign here. You've been in the studio before. We appreciate the time as we learn a bit more about your campaign, sir.
Thank you.
My first question, and we're starting with all of our candidates with this one, about cost of living and affordability. And everybody, including older adults, facing rising costs for things like healthcare, groceries, gas, utilities. What federal actions would you prioritize to try to keep cost of living and affordability in the right place?
Well, the first step, what I would do is get the government out of the equation as much as possible. The rising cost of living is basically inflation. And when I was in the same studio 4 years ago in 2022, I believe I was the only one at that time who said that inflation was rampant. And the same thing what it is now. I think the inflation is like 3.8%, I believe. It might be even higher. But people like to buy low and sell high. This cannot function. This is almost impossible to achieve any positive market results. Sometimes I hear people talking about Europe, and I don't agree with some of those statements. They're saying like Europe is socialism, which is not. Many of the Scandinavian countries are market economy, and we need to bring United States back towards that direction. We need to we need to free the business and let them do what they need to do. They need to serve people, and people need to be able to buy what they want, how they want. And basically the free market economy that's the way to go.
All right. Thank you. Second question is about mail-in voting. As we talk about elections and election security, the state's got a long history of vote by mail, offering other options for people as well. How do you balance election security and people's access to voting?
I don't know how. That's a very good question. Let's say I've traveled quite a bit. Let's say I go to Pasco Airport and we're flying out of Pasco. Anytime I go to Pasco, they ask me for my ID. And the same should be with voting. So when I became a U.S. citizen, I used to live in San Francisco at that time. So in my first election, I had to physically go and present my ID. I had to present my voter registration card. And I think we need to preserve this kind of system in place. If people want to go, and do like a ballot voting, okay, but you have to go to like the county assessor or whomever. You have to present your own credentials. And there's a ballot which is going to be issued only in your name. One ballot, that's it. Your signature has to be verified, your ID, your credentials, everything has to be verified. And I would prefer personally that you go to a voting booth and just check off my candidates or problems I'm voting for. And as soon as I'm done, I present the ballot to somebody, it is being dropped, and that's it. And we need to focus on really preserving the security of our U.S. election system. That's plain and simple.
Yeah. All right, question number 3 talks about Social Security. And if elected, would you opt to strengthen it, protect it? How would you do so? And further, how would you do so, not just for the people who use it now, but for future generations?
So, Social Security, many people, they don't have any savings. Let's say there's a proportion of the United States doesn't have any savings for retirement. So these people are counting on Social Security. When I looked at the Social Security as a whole, that money is basically is in a general fund, which it needs to be completely pulled out of the general fund. It needs to be kept in a separate entity, if you prefer. And there's a specific amount of time that you need to invest into Social Security before you can draw anything from it. I don't believe, like, there's a people coming to the United States. I looked at the Heritage Foundation and they said, like, there's a people from, let's say, Afghanistan, Honduras, whatever country. There's like a list of countries. And they're saying that these people are basically collecting benefits from, paid by U.S. taxpayers. That should be completely stopped. The only benefit should be paid is a people who contributed to the system. Once they contribute to the system, it's that there should be no question about these people receiving and the funds. And yes, if elected, I will strengthen the Social Security fund as much as possible and prevent people who are not supposed to be here, who are not supposed to be collecting any benefits from doing so.
Well, we're continuing our conversation about aging populations here in this Q&A, and one of them is about caregiving. And if elected, how would you help ensure people caring for their loved ones may save time, may save some money as they do so?
Well, first of all, we need to kind of look at the healthcare system as a whole. We need to basically create like a simplified care system. This state was trying to propose the long-term care, but like only payable for like 6 months, which is really not sustainable. But we need to get like a basic clinics where people can go to, and if there is a problem, they can address that problem. Well, I've got ingrown toenail. Well, let's take care of that. My father eventually, from having a ingrown toenail, ended up having a fully blown diabetes. So that was like a precursor to a problem. Nobody caught that problem until there was a time to amputate his leg. And if we need to basically become like a proactively looking at the aging population, at the like people, as I said, you have some indications about specific diseases, and if that disease can be caught and addressed at a specific time frame, the outcome would be beneficial. If that disease is being let go too far, the outcome might not be so good to the patient. So we need to look into more preventive care and more not just preventive care, but more basic care everywhere throughout the whole spectrum. Excuse me.
And my final question has to do with tribal relations, certainly not entirely unique here in this district, but prominent when it comes to government relations. What do you see your role as being in that relationship with the federally recognized tribes in Washington?
That is a really tough question. I see sometimes on the Facebook, on the X, formerly Twitter, that there are some of the natives, they venting, this like, you owe us this, we're not receiving that, and we need to work with these people because they're part of this country. It's I don't even know how to. We need to basically, what I would do, I would basically get with the tribal leaders, find out where the problems lies. I would ask them for what would be their recommendation to solve that problem. Once I know the position, what they have, then, well, let's talk to people in Washington, D.C. and try to remedy, try to maybe balance some of the wants by the tribal leaders and needs by the D.C. To balance them out. So we can have a positive outcome in both directions. I mean, in situation like that, there's never a clear winner. The tribes might say, like, we still didn't get what we wanted, but at least we're one step closer, maybe two steps closer, to solve a particular problem. But it has to be talked about, it has to be addressed on a local level and then brought up to DC for remedial action.
Well, Mr. Kobiesa, we could talk a lot more, but I appreciate the quick time here. We thank you for being here in this campaign. Jacek Kobiesa, campaigning for the 4th District.
Thank you.
We want to thank everybody for watching these conversations with candidates in the 4th Congressional District of Washington. And a reminder, ballots go out beginning the 17th of July. That begins an 18-day period to vote. We encourage you to vote early, as the top 2 candidates in this primary will move on to the general. The official primary election day is August 4th. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Benton and Franklin County, the League of Yakima County, and AARP of Washington State, we thank you for watching Northwest Public Broadcasting and our Vote 2026 coverage.